let's check in over at Al Jazeera. And here is the headline. What is the significance of Russia's Moskva warship sinking? It's got the details here in case you haven't heard. The Moskva, the warship named in honor of the Russian capital and the pride of the country's Black Sea Fleet, has sunk after a fire on board. The Soviet-era vessel saw service during conflicts in Georgia, Syria, and Ukraine, and helped conduct peacetime scientific research with the United States. It was an inglorious demise for a ship initially christened the Slava, or Glory. What happened? The Russian Defense Ministry says the Moskva was badly damaged by a fire and sank in a storm as it was being towed to port. It previously said that, quote, a detonation of ammunition triggered a fire and forced the crew to evacuate. A Ukrainian official claimed it had struck the Moskva with a Neptune cruise missile after successfully diverting the ship's radar systems. The U.S. says it has been able to confirm Ukraine's claims. The ship, which would usually have about 500 sailors on board, was thought to be located.
Just told us they're lying for benefit. How do we know that they're not just lying to us? No, right. This is Biden's 4D chess right here. This is his move, his big move.
So the ship sunk. There was a fire. We originally heard that it was a missile. Ukrainian forces were saying it took responsibility for it. And the U.S. right now is saying it has been able to confirm that the Ukraine did it. It was a good big boom made by the Ukrainians, which is really credit to the U.S. because those Neptune cruise missiles.
Yeah.
What?
I was just agreeing with you that it's the Ukraine as the U.S. proxy.
Yeah. I mean, we probably gave them that Neptune cruise missile,
so
it's kind of like
pulled the trigger.
Well, Gonzo, that's crazy disinformation.
What? No, but we're just helping.
Right. So the point is, the U.S. saying that they are confirming the claim that Ukraine took out the boat with a Neptune cruise missile is, well, not to be trusted, as we are told by NBC. What is the significance of the sinking? The 12,500-ton Moskva was armed with multiple anti-ship and surface-to-air missiles and was the only ship of its class in the Black Sea. The two other missile cruisers, the Marshal Ustinov and the Varyag, are deployed with Russia's Northern and Pacific fleets, respectively. The Institute for the Study of War, the IOW, says it was not able to verify that Ukraine had sunk the ship, but the Moskva's loss, regardless of the cause, was a, quote, major propaganda victory for Ukraine.
So forget what's really going on. Hey. Great propaganda victory. Wonderful job on the propaganda, Ukraine. You did great. Let's not worry about who if it actually went down. Or
the details aren't important of who exactly
what happened here. Maybe Putin he got mad at his own fleet and he took down his own little warship here.
Could have been anything. Well, the U.S.
in a drunken rage.
He's crazy. The U.S. has confirmed that the Ukraine did it, but the Institute for the Study of War says there's no way of knowing. We can't Ukraine. Do that, but regardless, it's a great propaganda win. In military terms, however, the loss might not be so significant.
Oh, okay.
IOW says the Moskva was probably mainly used to conduct caliber cruise missile attacks on sites including logistics centers and airfields in Ukraine. Quote, these strikes have been effective but limited in number compared to airstrikes and ground-launched missiles throughout the invasion, and the loss of the Moskva is unlikely to be a decisive blow, IOW said. So, the boat was just kind of sitting there, wasn't really doing anything, kind of launched a couple missiles, but not really a big deal. Russian military experts have also played down the sinking's military significance. Quote, the ship is really very old, actually. There have been plans to scrap it for 5 years now. Russian military analyst Alexander Kromchuk told the Reuters news agency, quote, It has more status value than real combat value, and in general had nothing to do with the current operation. It will have no effect on the course of hostilities. So it's this wonderful sort of mixture of, more than anything, it's a beautiful theater. It's a beautiful sort of play put on by 3 different actors. I mean, there's this useless ship, basically, that they don't care about, Russian military
they probably rolled
people.
It out there to be blown up if they want.
Exactly,
It's like, hey, you can have this one,
to
guys.
be blown up.
Yeah.
Now, Moskva is actually the Russian word for Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
So the ship was named Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that there's some very interesting sort of narrative value. Yeah, to the fact that Moscow was hit by a missile, by an American missile.
By the Ukraine. Very useful.
Ukraine took the credit. U.S. backed them up, but third-party people can't verify it, but also say it doesn't really matter. And that's kind of the view that we're sort of being told to take when it comes to the U.S. helping out Ukraine, which is, with our help, the Ukrainians can win. And it doesn't really matter who launched the missile. It's just like a really effective, just a really effective story to tell when it comes to this new world order and how we're supposed to feel about it.
Right.
Okay, so that's fun. But there's another little detail about this Moscow ship. This is coming from FoxLA.com, and the headline, Russia's sunken warship may have been carrying piece of true cross, a Christian relic. The sunken Moskva, the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, may have been carrying a sacred Christian relic when it went down. The guided missile cruiser sank this week while being towed to port after suffering heavy damage, while the circumstances remain in dispute between Russia and Ukraine. They're just admitting, we don't know what happened. The whereabouts of the piece of the true cross that believers say is the wood of the cross on which Jesus Christ was crucified have also been called into question. The timing is notable, as this week is Holy Week, leading up to Easter Sunday in the Christian religion, marking Jesus Christ's death by crucifixion and resurrection. The Russian Orthodox Church announced in early 2020 the tiny relic used to belong to a Catholic church and had been acquired by an anonymous patron of arts, according to a report from the state-run news agency TASS. Quote,
Okay, so Russian state media is telling us
again,
how the
propaganda.
Russian Orthodox Church announced who the relic came from.
We're being told that this is a propaganda win for Ukraine, the sinking of this ship.
Sinking of the ship, yeah.
But think about it from Putin's point of view. He is in the midst of his own propaganda war, trying to make sure he maintains control over his own country, gets the support of his people. And more than that, how do you get the support of the people? You get the support of the church. And now we have the U.S. confirming that Ukraine destroyed their Moscow ship with a missile and perhaps have lost a piece of the cross of Christ on Holy Week right before Easter. Is this not the perfect opportunity for Putin to say, hey, Russian Orthodox Church, people of the church, people of Russia, I am on a holy war. They sunk the ship that held the cross of Christ. We must continue to fight this war and do anything possible to keep, to gain victory. I think this is the framing of this as a propaganda win for Ukraine is not untrue, but I think it's even more of a propaganda win for Putin. I mean, at this point, he can mobilize his war with Ukraine as a holy war supported by God after the sort of satanic West sunk a historic ship carrying the cross of Christ. And now I think this will allow Putin to justify even more incredible acts of whatever he wants to do. I mean, you talk about important historical sinking of ships. Sinking of ships is always propaganda, and it always leads to bigger wars. I mean, that's how the U.S. got involved in World War II. That's how there's a whole list of historic sinking of ships that were used to either start wars, get involved with wars, take wars to the next level. The sinking of the historical ship called Moskva by these Ukrainians supported by the U.S., even though nobody else can really tell if it happened or not. With the cross of Christ on Holy Week, this is going to be a complete disaster.
Well, it sounds very familiar to what they did to the U.S. and militarizing evangelicals in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s to fight communism. And, justified for war, for World War II, but also more specifically Vietnam and Korean War, all that stuff. So the playbook doesn't change a whole lot, really.
Yeah, and who knows? The Russians may have blown up.
Well, I was going to say this is even more dramatic, in terms of really charging the religious
it is
citizens.
As dramatic as you could possibly make it.
Yeah.
Now, an American evangelical or an American Protestant of some kind, probably they don't really care about relics.
We
that
don't
much.
have the same reverence for
it's not
relics.
like a primary of religious importance, the relics, and often they're pretty much just met with doubt. But when it comes to the Catholics when it comes to Catholics and especially Russian Orthodox, they love relics. Relics, they're the biggest deal in the world. I mean, to own a relic,
iconography,
to see one
aspect to it. Yes.
But the relics are even bigger than icons.
Oh, of course.
I mean, yeah. A relic is a piece of divine history on Earth. I mean, this is the most important thing there is, almost. So yes, it's huge. And again, who knows? Russia may have blown up their own boat. And,
by the way,
it's totally possible. They're all in on the theater.
Yeah, well, and by the way, number one, do we really know if this piece of relic is truly from the cross of Christ? Number one, probably not. I'm guessing it's probably not super verifiable. Spoken
like a true American Protestant.
Number two, even if it was, or whatever, I don't think they would actually blow it up.
What do you mean?
They wouldn't need to actually blow it up.
Talking about the Russians?
Yeah, the Russians.
Yeah, none of this. No, that's what I'm saying. None of this needs to be true.
I know, but I'm just saying it'll be great if Putin can somehow recover it. Some kind of recovery, supernatural
I don't think
thing
Putin
later.
Cares. I don't think Putin cares.
But would.
Yeah, well, after the war's over and Russia rules the world, they'll send a submarine down there,
and
that
finds it, and it's in perfect condition because it is the resurrection. It sank in the water, is baptized, it is returned a new substance that will charge the world free energy with this.
Right. Well,
piece
these
of wood
relics are